Okay, so welcome. Here is episode number 64 of my series of live tours that brings you on the streets of Paris. If you can't bring yourself to Paris, I'm going to bring it to you week in and week out. Today is, we've got a theme going on. It's taking us to the eastern edge of Paris, and as the title implies, we're focusing on the fountains of the 12th Arrondissement. Larry, I can see one of my live viewers is already asking me, where is the 12th Arrondissement? It's to the east, my friend. Right along the edge of what we're going to end up near the Bois de Vincennes, if you've heard of that area, a big old lovely park. And the goal today is to give you a sampling of these off the beaten track fountains and these squares that hopefully will be a discovery for a lot of you. And we're going to jump right in. And we'll get closer to the fountain in a minute, but I just want to go over, like, what about the history of the fountains in general? And actually, there are 300 of them, believe it or not, in Paris. We love the fountains of the city, but there are more than you would imagine, and they can pop up from, out of nowhere, really. So over 300 today in 2019. And the idea of the public fountain in Paris began back in the 12th century, when medieval abbeys were irrigating water from natural sources to provide for those religious communities that they were in charge of. And then in the 12th century, the king at the time of France, Philippe Auguste, put in the very first public fountain ever. It wasn't this one, but it was in the very famous market of Les Halles, in the first arrondissement, right in the center of town. So 12th century, first official public Parisian fountain, and of course it was all about water, getting fresh water for people to drink and to bathe themselves and to bathe animals and to clean, the produce and the meats that they were selling, etc., etc. And then around the 19th century, the idea of a fountain took on more of a decorative, ornamental approach, and that was mostly under Napoleon III. And speaking of him, this fountain here was designed by a gentleman called Daviou. It almost looks like the name David with a couple of extra vowels. Daviou was one of Napoleon's guys in the mid-19th century, working right alongside Mr. Baron Haussmann. And Daviou was he was entrusted with the task of beautifying and modernizing Paris. So he not only designed this fountain, but he designed the famous Saint-Michel fountain in the Latin Quarter that we love. But also Mr. Daviou designed the park benches and the lamp posts and the fences and the signpost, the balustrade. So we owe Mr. Daviou quite a lot of gratitude. So why don't we get a little bit closer? Now, today we're doing this tour by bike, because if you want to get around from one fountain to the next, you want to get there in a snappy fashion, or at least I do today. So I'm going to one-hand the camera and one-hand the bike, and we're going to walk ourselves over to the square. I'm going to be very multitasking and ambidextrous today. Well, that's a composition right off the bat, isn't it? Minus the car. Come on, car, you can get out of there. I'll give you the name of the square in a minute. Let's go ahead and cross. I just want to give you the 360-degree vibe. So this is called the Place du Colonel Bourgoin, I think would be the pronunciation, named after some old colonel who probably did some interesting stuff. This is made of granite here, and it's from 1867. It was not originally placed here in this square. It was actually put on exhibit in Paris for the 1867 World Expo, one of those great international World's Fairs, and it was basically displayed alongside all the other accomplishments and marvels and feats of engineering and technology that countries were showing off and exhibiting during that World's Fair. Of course, they did it every 11 years or so in Paris back in the day. To give you Americans, look at that really nice little bit of old signage there where they would hand paint the billboards. It's faded, I can barely tell what it is, but it's lovely. For you Americans out there, hello. To give you some historical context, in 1867, when this fountain was built and put on display at the World Expo, the United States only had 37 states in the Union, 37 out of 50. So that gives you some context. And speaking of North America, if there are any Canadians watching, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. It's, to my knowledge, either today or this weekend is the Canadian Thanksgiving. And I don't know what you all do up there for Thanksgiving, but I know if it's anything like the American Thanksgiving, there's a lot of food and eating and family involved and get-togethers and whatnot. So happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you all. I want to pop off this composition because I like to get something in the top of the frame. Hey, Elizabeth Diamond, I can see you there. You're saying it's a nice day. Yeah, really, it's really, really warm. When I turn the camera on me a little bit later, you'll see that I am scarfless today. Let's make our way around a little bit more. Hey, Lucienne from Hoboken. I can see you there. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Let me try to... Actually, I'm going to park my bike here and I'm going to give you one last composition before we move on. We've got several fountains to enjoy today. Just a little bit of color with the flower there, why not? If you're just joining, this is the episode of the Fountains of the 12th Arrondissement. We're going to say goodbye to that one. And move on, because we've got some fun stuff to see. Hop on the old bike here. Sorry for the view. All right, so we are going to set this up. A little bit of extra logistics today. Sorry for the camera shot of the asphalt. Here we are. We're on a bike. Dynamite weather for a bit of a Saturday bike ride, I must say. And this is going to allow us to get between fountains much faster, so you don't all have to take up your entire day with me here. And we're already to our next one. You're going to see this has a completely different vibe. So look at the name first. Frédéric Rossif, 1978. Do you see that? So we've already jumped many years. We've jumped over 100 years here compared to the last fountain. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach you to my bike. There's a whole process here that I've worked out. There we go. Attach you to my bike so I can push it with two hands and get us into this park. Look at this. Isn't that lovely? That's the entrance. Isn't that stunning? So 1978 park means that the fountain here, and we'll get closer to it of course, is very distinct and very unique and obviously very modern. So it's got this sort of trough that makes its way down. And the pigeons love it. I can tell you, there are just a couple of pigeons today at the moment, but they, usually during the day, they are going crazy here because it's essentially a bath and a drinking spot for them. So interesting conception for a fountain. I guess this is how they were thinking in the 70s. Let's go a little closer. No swimming allowed, so don't get your hopes up to see that today. So it comes, you know what, screw it, I'll show you what the top looks like. Nice little sort of village vibe in the back there, isn't it? A country atmosphere. So you get the idea, you know how fountains work, but I just want to show you anyway. Ah, Lauren says it's kind of Aztecish. Yeah, we'll go with that, Lauren. I like that. How great is this? Tropical. Speaking of tropical, wait until the end of this episode because I obviously like to save I wouldn't say the best for last, but I like to make the last part of these episodes something notable. And so this is designed, this little tour of ours, to end up at a beautiful, unexpected, and incidentally tropical fountain. So let's just do the walk around here. So you can walk around behind it, and it's just very lush. Some people's backyards over there. Hashtag pigeon life. Pretty good life, actually, pigeon life, as long as you keep away from the cars. I've seen a few pigeon lives that didn't end so well. It's a bit of color. Yeah, Richette Robillard says, it's not the typical Paris fountain, but still lovely. That's exactly, Richette, what I was going for with this episode. So let me, again, I got my bike in my other hand, so a little bit of a juggling act today, but hey, it's a fun challenge. We got to change it up sometimes. Look at this. I got to show you the perspective with these flowers in the front. Park my bike. Just hiding out in the 12th Arrondissement, nothing but locals around. Hey Sue Harris, I can see you there. Thanks for joining. First few times I came to this park, I would do what I just did with you, and then I would leave. I would leave the way that I came in, but I found out there's just a little bit extra. So I'll grab my bike again. There's another half circle that leads us back behind all of the greenage and the fountain itself into a little, a man relieving himself, among other things. There's a playground, which is great. Talk about bad timing for that guy, huh? Whenever I'm forced to do something like that, I'm hoping, oh, please, don't anybody come, don't anybody see me in this disgraced state. And here I come with all this equipment and my bicycle and live streaming and live video, folks. I love it. Anyway, so you get the idea. And then over here, they are doing, which is very, very common in these local communities, is they're growing some organic herbage and various things. And that's what's going over there too. Maybe I didn't show you well enough. Now let's be honest, if someone was filming ahead of time and they were editing this video, they would never leave that guy in. But here we go, you know, live video, that moment is immortalized forever. And this next one is definitely going to be a surprise. We're going to pop up this little street. Cute little bistro there. Blue skies are out. Hey, Cindy Garrison, who asks, why the gates to prevent bikes? I don't think it's to prevent bikes. Mostly to keep kids, I think, from running out of the parks. And yeah, maybe they don't want any bikes to come barreling in really fast. So it does stop us from doing that. You're not allowed to ride bikes inside the parks, but yeah, just to regulate traffic a little bit. And I always thought that it was mostly for the kids, to keep the kids from just being able to run in and out. Okay, so look at the name of this one. I will be making a PDF map, as usual, of this episode. So if you are a $10 subscriber or supporter on my Patreon page, I think you know the drill by now. You can find the links to my Patreon website in the description, and if you support this project with a monthly donation, my $10 or more patrons per month get free access to downloadable maps of these episodes. And it's a very handy way when you're in Paris to come back and find this stuff. Another ultra-local park. And this is fountain number 3. Isn't that wild? So this is, let me fix the exposure a little bit. Oh, hello. I didn't mean to do that. That was a glitch. Get a close-up of my oh, there we go again. My slowly graying beard. So this is in mosaics, ceramic mosaics. And I'll show you, try to get as close. I mean, it is a fountain, so there's water all around. But isn't this lovely? It's a little beat up. It's from the 80s. It's from 1982. And I'm just going to leave my bike here and give you the walk around. Really fun, obviously, for the kids and for us lovers of Paris and its fountains. Just a lovely discovery. Lucienne says, nice to see your face. You didn't see much of my face there, an extreme close-up of my beard. Oh well. I'll show you my face for real a little bit later. So the water's a little bit green today, but I'll show you anyway. It's all mosaic underneath as well. Oh, that's kind of fun, isn't it, with the reflection of the tail. Kind of a Moby Dick vibe. And then the mosaics, what I like is that they go from blue and green and yellow, and then if you can make it out here, they blend into the edge to pink. So the idea is that it goes from pink on the perimeters and blends its way all the way to the blues of that. I can see in the comments that a lot of you are digging the whale, so hopefully that's new to you. This was one of the fun fountains that prompted me to do an entire episode, and we'll do the full view. As you can see, the building over here on the right, you know, it's a rather typical, fairly modern, large apartment complex, and so you can hear the kids, I think, and they love this. And all these parks are designed just for that, just for actually being used and for people hanging out. Now, turn around because. Well, I'm telling you to turn around. I should be telling myself to turn around. Look at this on the other direction. Isn't that lovely? A little fountain there. Just a little bit of sunlight poking through. For the Frites, my Patreon members, I did a private tour of a secret garden for you last week. And isn't this a little bit reminiscent of that? Clearly the same type of flowers and bloom. And then here it gets a bit tropical again, which I just love this. Fantastic. Look at these compositions never get old. I actually want to take you through here because we're going to look back at the whale through all of this vegetation, and I quite like that view. As usual, I've come through here several times already to prepare, and I have determined which views I think are the best so that I can pack each episode with as many of them as possible. A big old tree here and a nice little picnic spot if you want it. Park my trusty steed and give you the pan around. Hey, Sue-Ann Hum, I can see you there. Sue-Ann's digging the mosaics. How great is that with some blue sky? And then you can almost do sort of like a safari film shot, right? Where you're coming through, Pretty lame soundtrack, sorry about that, but so not all fountains are created equal, and not all fountains are predictable. There's that plant that I didn't know last time when I did our private secret garden tour and everyone was trying to help me out. I still actually forgot the name. I'm sure someone's going to remind me again, but boy, this time of year, whatever this flower is loving it. It's going wild. Looks like big old pipe cleaners hanging down. Oh, and then look at these. These are new to me. Somebody help me with those. They're like little prickly puffy balls. I mean, come on. You can't beat that view. People, they should charge us to enjoy views like this. And not only does Paris not charge me admission to these parks, Paris never even told me about these parks. I mean, it's like they keep it a secret on purpose. Okay, well, that's my bike again, so let's get on it. Let's get on it. This is the tour that I wanted to do a few weeks ago when I injured my hand. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to, with a bum hand, maneuver my bike and the camera and ride down the street and all of that. So I had to wait until I healed up. I'm feeling good today. The weather's nice. No migraine. And it's time to get back on the bike. If you're digging this tour, there's nothing stopping you from going down at the bottom of your screen and clicking share and posting it to your page so you can let your friends know how cool you are for spending your Saturdays biking through a very warm October afternoon. At least for me, it's the afternoon. All right, you're going to have the sun in your eyes a little bit, but that's how it goes. Put on your sunglasses. And for all you mama bears out there who are worried about me, I know you're out there. You're concerned for me one-handing my bike, filming and live streaming down these streets. I do this every single day. I'm very comfortable on a bicycle. I've seen it all on these streets. And yeah, this isn't like just some random thing that I tried and I'm hoping it works out. This is basically my everyday, so I'm quite comfy. I'm feeling good, so don't worry about me. Woo, look at this beauty. Oh my goodness. Whoa! This is connected to something that some of you know about. It is sort of the quote-unquote high line of Paris. It's called the Promenade Plante, or the Coulée Verte. And this is one of the staircases that will get you up there. Isn't that just dynamite? And then I'll show you that once you do get up there, there is a former, if you're not aware of it, hello, there's an invader, that star, our street artist invader. The former elevated railway line that used to come through here was converted, and it cuts through, in this case, actually cuts through those two buildings. Can you see that? So, yeah, you can see the people walking along. And so, mostly in the 12th Arrondissement, you can walk the Coulée Verte, or the Promenade Plante, depending on what you want to call it. And this has got to be about one of the best ways to enter. Okay, so Dennis Beltran, maybe some other people threw it up there too. Those long red flowery things we were looking at are called amaranthus? Amaranthus. Really sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Huh? So if you haven't done this coulée verte, do it, do it, do it. Can you make it out way up there, those two little heads from the Smurfs? That is Gargamel on the left and his cat Azrael. Does anyone else remember the Smurfs? You know what they call the Smurfs, by the way, in French? First time I heard this from my wife, I just died laughing. They called the Smurfs in French, they call them les Schtroumpfs. Les Schtroumpfs. And I don't know where that came from. It sounds German to me. But that's how they know them. This sort of guttural back of the throat sound. Daddy, I want to watch Les Schtroumpfs. Okay, by the way, don't ever ride on the sidewalks. Parisians aren't fond of it, nor should they be. But I'm doing it just for the sake of this video. I want to show you here, again, the elevated park of where you can go near the High Line. I actually want to back up like that. I'm so happy there's a blue sky today. All along here, we're actually headed toward another fountain that is a very unique one. It was the first of its kind in Paris, and you'll see what I mean. Boy, the quality of the light here is not that, I mean, that's not that bad. I mean, geez Louise, if I came upon this video on Facebook, I think I might stop and watch it. As we ride by, I'm going to show you another bit of this elevated park up there. So it's very easy to get up there. Statue and everything. Oh, come on. Dynamite colors. Dynamite. Always enhanced by a blue sky. I was really, really hoping for that today. There's another one. Look at the reds. Oh. I got an older lady looking at me like I'm some kind of circus freak. Maybe I am. So these are all, you see where the wood is there, the wooden levels. I think those are all, you know, herbs and whatnot that the city is growing. Oh, the colors. Our foliage colors haven't actually been exactly record-breaking this year because we had a real lack of rain and some heat waves and whatnot, and a lot of the leaves got fried straight up. But I gotta say, you wouldn't know it here looking at this little section of the 12th Arrondissement. Okay, we've still got a few fountains to enjoy here. Check out the name of this one. It's a bit of a mouthful. Jardin de Reuilly-Paul Pernin. 1992 was the date if you didn't catch it. And this is why we're here, because this, La Pétillante, meaning sparkling water. So what this says is a fountain that freely distributes ambient temperature water, cold water, and sparkling water. There are about 13 or so, a dozen or so of them in Paris today, these sparkling water fountains, but this was the first. So the park itself is lovely. Look at that. Again, that's another way to get up to the coulée verte. And then just right here, this rather unassuming little wooden kiosk is where the magic happens. Paris's very first sparkling water fountain. So I'll show you how that works. Let me park this thing. Oh, really simple. It's just a bunch of buttons. So, eau pétillante, which, by the way, if you ever want to order sparkling water in a restaurant, that's the phrasing, eau pétillante. And then you can see it's in English there. So all you got to do is press the button. It's going to be a little bit hard to show you that it's sparkling. Sorry, I should try to focus on my hand. I don't know if I can get it fuzzy or not. No, maybe it's kind of hard to make it out. But anyway, that was a useless experiment. But anyway, trust me, I'm tasting it. It's sparkling water. And then here, it's pretty ingenious actually. You got sparkling water, and then this just says drinking water, which means it's an ambient temperature. Technically, it means it comes from the municipal system of drinking water, and it's at exactly 12 degrees Celsius, 53 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the temperature of the water as it comes out of the taps in the apartments. But here we've got cool water. So this actually is cool. There's a cooling system. And then again, the sparkling. What a trendy little water fountain, huh? And I can tell you when they, again, this was the first one installed, and the members of the residents here in the 12th Arrondissement thought that they were pretty cool. And you know what? They were pretty cool, and they definitely appreciated, and still do, free, unlimited amounts of seltzer water. That's a lovely park. If I didn't have my bike, I'd probably take you up to that park, but that's for another video. Nice. Hey, Holly Mackler, I'm glad you're here. On to the next thing. We've got plenty to see as usual. Every single time I tell myself, oh yeah, Corey, you've got a nice little 25-minute video planned there. And the 25 minutes always turn into 45. Ah, we got some more loveliness, of course, coming up here. Look at this statue. We're gonna hop off the bike for this beauty. We've got a playground here that I'm actually gonna talk about. A playground that has a certain amount of meaning to me. So this beauty here is in honor of, it's sad, children of the 12th Arrondissement who died for France during the 2 World Wars, particularly in the Far East, North Africa, and Indochina. And then on this side, to the memory of those deported from the 12th Arrondissement, victims of the Nazi concentration camps. So we've got the memorial here doing double duty. Very, very common for playgrounds in these local communities to have some sort of memorial to victims of the war, particularly children. What we have here emerging from behind the trees is the City Hall of the 12th Arrondissement, what they call the mairie. Every district, every arrondissement has one, and they all, as far as I know, answer to the big city hall known as Hôtel de Ville in the center of town. Ellen Betancourt just asked, is that the town hall in the background? You got it. Look at this. Oh, it's stunning. So there's some nice facade action happening up there. You can see those tradesmen doing their thing. And actually, let me stick one of my big digits in the frame here. Right here and here and here, there are 4 words, and they actually help us out today. They explain the different sections of the 12th Arrondissement, the names of the different areas, and I can read them off to you for future reference. It says Bel Air, Picpus, Bercy, and 15-20, the number 15, 15 and 20, 15-20. So that is clearly this is the city hall, the town hall of the 12th, and that is meant to represent and symbolize all of the districts of this area. I just want to give you the overall. It's not a fountain, but I had to show it to you, because how can you go past this and not show it? What is a fountain, though, is something that you will all definitely recognize. I'd actually be surprised if a viewer didn't recognize this by now, but I guess there are always newcomers to the project. It's called the Wallis Fountain, if you don't know. And just for fun, let's get a little bit close to it. The Wallis Fountains, I'm going to sort of park my bike here. The Wallis Fountain was nicknamed back in the day the Brasserie des Quatre Femmes, the Brasserie of the 4 Ladies. And not to repeat myself, but I've mentioned once or twice that when these architectural toga-clad ladies are holding something up like this, they're known as caryatids or caryatids, depending on how you want to say it. And it's just always good for a nice 360-degree camera move. But what I also want to do, these are all different, by the way. They're all different. They all have the attachment of the toga in a different place. They all have a one leg or 0 legs exposed. In this case, neither of her legs are shown. You can see different there. So again, they didn't copy and paste. They could have gotten away with that, but they instead added a lot of beautiful variety. Let me try to give you some sort of unique view here. Yeah, something like that. Oh, there is something I did want to do. Hold on. I'm going to stand on this. Like that. Can't pause for the compositions, then why are you even here, honestly? That's what I keep telling myself. So that is the mairie of the 12th Arrondissement, the 12th Arrondissement. And if you'll indulge me, I want to actually switch the camera. Do something like this. Hi, that's me. A little bit dewy as usual, because it's a warm day. Very dewy, actually. Anyone have a chamois out there? It is a warm day. I'm scarfless. But that works well because I like a pretty great neck. I like to show off my neck sometimes, even though it's getting a bit gray. Okay. So this park behind me, this playground, is actually very special to me in an interesting way. When I first moved here in 2010, I was, an expat. I didn't speak the language. I was really lost. Like I imagine a lot of people when they come here. I'd married my French wife and I was here and excited to be in Paris, but I had no idea what I was going to do. How was I going to earn a living? I had to reinvent myself. Nobody knew me, etc. Did I even have the courage to get out, put myself out there and get a job? I managed to scrape together a tiny little part-time job that consisted of tutoring young kids in English. But it ended up to be sort of a glorified babysitter situation. They paid us very poorly. I think after taxes I made like €9 an hour, and I only worked 2.5 hours a day. So what's that, like 27 euros a day? And I would take an hour train to get in here. I'd pick up these 2 kids that were lovely kids, aged 5 and 8, and I would pick them up at school because their parents were working and play with them for 2.5 hours and speak English to them and teach them, as much English as I could. I would take them all the time to this playground. And the reason I'm mentioning that is I couldn't help but thinking back then that I was just spinning my wheels. I was in a rut. I didn't know what I wanted to do. For some people, it's their calling to be in childcare, and they're very, very good at it, and it's fulfilling for them, and more power to those people. But for me, it just felt like I was in a very dead-end, unfulfilling, poorly paid job, and I was making like €100 a week. And Charlotte, my wife, had to support us for months and months and months, and I started to feel like crap. I started to feel pretty incompetent, and it was kind of emasculating in a way, like I couldn't pay the bills, with my wife. Anyway, all of that to say that now when I pass by here and I think about that very first job I had in Paris and how I was very bummed about it, and I felt like I wasn't reaching any of my potential, and now I get to have this job, and it's really thanks to all of you. So I just wanted to flip the camera around on me, which I'm not very fond of in the first place, but I really wanted to give you a proper thank you, because hopefully you know that I'm grateful for this whole thing. But the fact that my job, 6 or 7 years later, 7, 8 years later, my job can be this instead of scraping by €9 an hour here and there. So that's all. I just wanted to say that. Yeah, let's not get emotional about it. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go back and read your comments later on, but let's get back to 2 more beautiful fountains, and then we go to the private Café Chat for my Patreon members. If you're not a Patreon member yet, there are more and more reasons to do that. You're going to get a lot of rewards and exclusive content, and I just filmed last week an amazing video of a secret garden, and I'm not going to tell you where it is, but my Patreon members know, and those are kind of the little perks that I like to give them. All right, let's do this. Back on the bike. So thank you, everybody, for allowing me to make a little bit more than €9 an hour, and on top of that, do a job that I absolutely love and I feel that I was meant to do. Hold on, I got something with my bike here just real quick. All right, we're good. Seems there's a lull in the traffic. Let's do this. Danielle Molden says, there's no crying in baseball. Yep, there's no crying in baseball or tour guiding. Oh, look here on the left. If it's a lady like the Wallis Fountain, a lady holding something up architecturally, it's called a caryatid. But these are called atlantes in relation to when they're male. A lot of these buildings here are early 1900s, which puts them right around the Art Nouveau period. So they've got, you know, a lot of flowery motifs and whatnot. All right, let's go. I think someone's behind me waiting to go. You'll pardon me for not reading your comments as I ride here. Just some ding-a-ling because I'm happy to be here with y'all. Just a little bit of ding-a-ling. I mean, where else would you rather be on a Saturday in October? This is a fun one. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Not every tour guide in Paris can give you this view, folks. These are some advanced techniques. You do it until the cops stop you, basically. I don't want to make too many of you dizzy, so I'll stop there. Okay, so the good news is I can put my bike up on this sidewalk. Okay, now we're on the sidewalk and there's no risk of anything. And I can take you all around nice and slowly and tell you about this beauty. This is 1869. It was also designed by Mr. Davieu. We talked about him. He was the guy under Napoleon III who was beautifying Paris. He was responsible for so much of this loveliness. And Davieu originally designed this and placed it in the Place de la République. So out there at République, there's a very large train station and a square in honor of the Republic of France. And this is the fountain that originally adorned it in 1869 and beyond. But can you believe it only lasted 10 years? It only stayed 10 years at Place de la République, and then it was dismantled and removed to make way for the statue that is currently at République, which is that Marianne figure, you know, holding up I think she's holding up an olive branch, yeah. And it's called a monument to the glory of the Republic. And then this was dismantled, and it took about 5 years for them to reassemble this beauty and bring it over here in the middle of the Doménil section of the 12th. The sculptor was a guy called Jacquemart, and no relation to the museum of the Jacquemart-André. This is a different Jacquemart. But he sculpted a lot of Parisian animals because he did not only these lions, but he did the famous lions at the Saint-Michel fountain, those sort of winged, Gothic-looking, gargoyle-y Saint-Michel lions, right, with their fangs and whatnot. He did those. He also did the sphinxes at the Place du Châtelet. There's a fountain at Châtelet with sphinxes. And then also, if you're at the Musée d'Orsay, right in front, they have these beautiful bronze animals. And the rhinoceros was also done by the same sculptor, Mr. Jacquemart. There are 8 of these lions, and they represent, courage and justice and strength. They were gods in certain religions. And Paris doesn't have a monopoly on lion iconography. It's really everywhere throughout Europe and beyond. And if you can make it out here, holding up that elevated basin, we talked a bit, remember when we watched the Always Look Up tour? We talked about this idea of a console. The console is the thing that holds up a balcony, or in this case, the basin. And there are some lovely female faces there. Holy cow, I just saw the time. You've got to be kidding me. 53 minutes? Okay, I mean, I know I say this a lot, but this tour has literally gone by so fast. I mean, time has gone by so fast. Wow. All right, so I can't waste any more time. I got to get off this sidewalk. And we got to get to the last one. Apologies to my Café Chat guests, Heather Jackson and James Jackson. They're having to wait a little bit longer than I wanted them to. Wow, time really went by fast on this one. Must be really enjoying myself. All right, we got a couple of minutes bike ride here to the last one. We're headed toward the eastern edge of town. We're gonna be so far off the beaten track, we might find other tracks. Beautiful little brick church there. It's called the Church of the Holy Spirit. And I can only give you that drive-by, but you get the idea. Very rare to see brick churches. It'll be worth it though, this last fountain. Don't go through red lights either, kids, when you're riding through Paris. Only do it if you're a tour guide live streaming. Great little produce stand that when I'm heading home sometimes at night, I'll grab my fresh fruit right there. We got to do some more live tours by bicycle. This is fun. Don't miss this bakery drive-by on the right-hand side. Actually, let me pump onto the sidewalk for it. Ooh, look at that beauty. Wow. Beautiful. Don't ride your bike in front of bakeries, kids. Just don't do it. Don't do anything that I'm doing today. Okay. We're gonna stop for the tram because that's one thing I will do, is stop for those guys. Woo. I got a guy in a delivery truck, this van here, he's just laughing at me, he gives me the thumbs up. He thinks I'm quite a character. Oh boy, look at this. Oh, people, people, people. Oh, people, people. What? What? This is why I had to do a freaking fountains tour in the 12th Arrondissement. So I'm going to park my bike here. Hey, Walter McCure, he says this tour was truly awesome. Merci. Right back at you, buddy. I think you're quite awesome yourself. Look at this. This is the Fontaine de la Porte Dorée. In medieval times and even beyond, even into the 1800s, you know, there were walls around Paris. Sometimes a physical stone medieval barrier, sometimes just for taxation purposes. But there were always these doorways, or these portes meaning door, where you could enter the city from all, you know, the periphery of it, even when Paris was very small and now when it's much larger. So we still today, when you're driving in from the suburbs, you will enter Paris through one of these portes, or one of these portals. And this is called the Porte Dorée. Ah, Jennifer Warren, how's it going? Exactly. Jennifer just said palm trees in Paris? Yes, and there is a reason they are here, Jennifer. We'll get into that in just a second. This is literally the edge of town. So behind this statue, which we'll get closer to, behind this fountain is literally the eastern edge of Paris. If I back up a little bit, oh, it even gets better when you back out. Okay, there's a sign in the front that reminds us, let me get closer, it's dedicated to the former combatants, or the former fighters in Indochina. So it's a bike lane, pardon sir. So it's in honor of, you know, Indochina. We talked about it when I did my episode in the Passy Cemetery over near Trocadero, where, you know, France colonized this place known as Indochina. It was basically Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. And this is in honor of those fallen, you know? And so that's exactly why, Jennifer Warren and others, that's exactly why the palm trees are here, because they were planted fairly recently when this fountain was created, in honor, to give that exotic feel, in honor of the East Asian and Far Eastern folks there that this is dedicated to. Just behind this fountain, outside of Paris, is the Bois de Vincennes, and it's where they had a very, very famous, in the 30s, a very, very famous expo, like an international World's Fair, related to foreign cultures and the colonization of France. And so all of these different foreign cultures were represented, and this is kind of a throwback to that, you know, it's still in the same vein. Look at that. Welcome to Miami. How about an apartment up there? Wow. I don't know if those are pricey bits of real estate, but it wouldn't surprise me. So I've already run way, way long, and I got to get to Heather and James Jackson. So let's finish with the statue itself. La Fontaine de la Porte Dorée. Despite the traffic coming in and out of the city, it's always real chill here. You know, you feel like the locals, you know, they're well aware that they're on the edge of town, and they don't need to have a, you know, a stressed lifestyle like perhaps some of the folks in the center. So the statue here, actually done by a student of Rodin. Gentleman by the name of Drivier, Léon Drivier, protege of great sculptor Rodin. This is gilded bronze. It's actually two things. It's actually the god Athena, the warrior. You can see her shield and her spear, but it's meant to actually, technically, it's called France bringing peace and prosperity to the colonies. So it ties in with this whole idea of the expo back in the 30s, excuse me, and all about colonies and immigrants and foreign cultures, etc. It used to be, this fountain, before it was relocated recently, used to be on the top of that building. And that building is actually quite interesting as well. That's where I'm going to have my Café Chat privately with my Patreon members. If you want to become a member and have access to those chats and get extra extensions of tours and info and content and secret private videos and such, then go ahead and check out the description. But I'm going to pop myself on the grass. Doesn't even feel like Paris, and that's why we love Paris. I'm probably not supposed to be here, but just for you. That is a heck of a way to enter the city right there. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Ran way long today, so maybe you'll have to watch this one in 2 parts, I don't know. But thanks so much. Check out all my links and everything you need to get closer to me and take a tour with me in Paris. I'm a full-time tour guide, photographer, etc., etc. I got some very interesting projects lined up that are a bit hush-hush, but they're in the pipeline. You're definitely going to want to be a Patreon member because I've got some fun, private, exclusive content as a reward for my Patreon members. And speaking of which, let's get over to the Café Chat. If you can't bring yourself to Paris, I'm going to bring Paris to you. This week it was the fountains of Paris. Next week it might be who knows what. But I definitely will show you something beautiful and something historically interesting and something thought-provoking. That I guarantee. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I think that's all I want to say. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.